Welcome to Living Your Path. I am Cecile Ferry, a coach and astrologer. I'm here to guide you on how to live and work in alignment with your true self so you can find fulfillment and serenity. Hello, my beautiful people. I am so glad to be back with you. I've got a really exciting episode today, one that has been simmering in my mind for the last 2 weeks. I wish I could have recorded it and put it out sooner, but I took it a bit easy last week because I was really tired. And I did post about that on Instagram, actually. I did a bit of an experiment where I took a lot of things out of my week last week. And I watched what happened. And you know what happened? I actually felt a lot better. This really helped me see how much more I do probably than I should. And also, nothing went wrong. Like, nothing bad happened. So maybe that's a little message for you this week as you're listening to this. Maybe you've got too much on. And so as much as I wanted to be here last week and to launch that episode sooner, I didn't. And I just told myself I will put myself first and I will do it later. So just to show you that I live by what I preach. I'm not someone that will push myself. So I'm sorry that in the meantime you have to wait. But I am now fully ready and way better this week. So we can talk about career decisions. So the last couple of podcasts probably have been more about astrology, but today, now I've been back for a couple of weeks with career coaching clients. So my mind is very much in the two spaces right now. So I have called this episode When Career Decisions Feel Difficult. And then I thought, don't they feel difficult all the time, pretty much? So I want to help you here if that's where you're at. I want us to unpack together why that is and what you can do about it so that they feel easier. I'm fortunate that as a coach, I have seen so many people from so many different backgrounds, industries, levels of experience, culture, and I've been able to share a part of their career journey, and usually when they were stuck or where they find it difficult to make decisions. So I've been lucky to be on the other side of the fence, to be the observer, to be the mentor and the coach and the support for them. And therefore, I have a lot of faith in making career decisions. It's a lot easier, I would say, for me as a coach because I'm not the one in the hot seat, I will say. But I have seen things working out over and over and over for pretty much everybody. Most of my clients, they really experience a change and a positive change. And that is fantastic. And that's why I don't fear career decisions for them as much. You know what I mean? So that's the spirit I'm showing up here with to guide you, to help you, to instill that sense of trust and that sense of faith that I have built over the years as a coach. So don't worry if you have pressed play today thinking, yeah, it's hard for me. You are in good company. It is hard for most of us. But the good news is here comes the help. So we're going to get to it in a minute. Before we do, I wanted to mention a new session that I have just put together. And actually, I love how this aligns with today's podcast. And I swear, I didn't even plan this. It's just perfection. But I wanted to offer you, especially as we are now into the swing of the year, now is the time to make changes for 2025. And I'll talk more about astrology during the year, but there is a lot of stuff coming up from the end of March. So I want you to jump on that bandwagon and I want you to take your career in your own hands. And if you're not where you want to be, make a change. So I have designed a new session, which is a perfect combination of coaching and astrology, where over 1 hour we do roughly 50% coaching and 50% career astrology reading. That is the perfect combination where we will talk about where you're at in your career, what your challenges are, what you are aspiring to do and to become. That's the coaching part and what's in the way of that. And then we will look at your birth chart and specifically all the information in it that helps inform your career. In particular, we will look at your skills, we'll look at the kind of work environment and tasks that suit you, your unique talents, and your purpose. And plenty more. Like the birth chart is full of information when it comes to your career. So we can focus on that for a short amount of time. And this will be really perfect for anyone listening right now who is feeling really lost in their career or have been looking for direction and not finding the answers for quite some time, or being in a path that doesn't truly resonate with you and you wonder what would. And it will also give you a lot of confidence because once I share this information with you, you will really help understand yourself, your professional self, on a different level. It will give you some reassurance. It will give you some level of certainty and confidence about what's right for you. And that will make your life and professional life a lot easier. So if you're interested, the link will be in the show note. It's called the Astro Career Path. It's 1 hour and I've made it a really attractive price that is cheaper than doing a separate reading and a separate coaching session. So if this speaks to you, I highly recommend you check it out and you book it. It will be a great start to your year. Okay, so now back to the episode. I am going to cover why career decisions are difficult, and then I'll talk you through strategies and tips, practical things you can do to make them easier. Sounds good? Let's get into it. So the first reason sounds obvious, but I need to mention it. It's that change is difficult. Full stop. Because we are all human. Whatever we're trying to change, in particular, big things in our lives, like changing jobs, changing homes, and changing relationships, are the big ones. So we need to start there, admitting that it's just not something our human condition likes. And it's just really affecting us every day, right? We're not wired for that. We're wired for survival. We're wired for stability. So anything that goes against that will feel hard. I had to mention it. Secondly, we might not be in the right space or in the right place when we're trying to make those decisions. Like, I get it. We need to make them sometimes, like we are feeling the absolute need. We're like, this is crunch time. But we might be really busy already with a lot of stuff, especially mentally. There might be a lot of things on. We've got a very packed schedule. We might be really exhausted. We're running from one thing to the next. We may have a very demanding job right now. So it is very hard to be with the current load and circumstances as they are, which is quite full, and to also be with another potential situation. In your mind, literally cannot be properly in both places. I wish we could. We can multitask, but, thinking about a career is not something we do in 5 or 10 minutes in the car on the way back from school pickup. We do need to dedicate some energy, some time, some thinking space, some brain space to it. And let's be frank, who has that? Most of the time we don't. So I want to acknowledge that here. It's that dichotomy. It's trying to really build something else when where you are right now is already full. That's a real question. I don't fully have the answer for it, but I think admitting what's happening and then thinking about ways that we can decrease a little bit the load in order to make some space, or temporarily suspend the load if we can, or using a holiday or using a weekend away or something to create that buffer, goes a very long way. Now, another big reason why career decisions are difficult, and it's not one that we are easily aware of when it applies to us, is that we might not be trusting ourselves. And I have seen that with myself years ago and with my clients, some of my clients. Because when we're in that situation, we tend to doubt ourselves. It's like we don't feel that we know ourselves or that we have the capacity to know what's right for ourselves. Does this resonate? Like we may have an idea and then straight away we will doubt it and it feels like we never really know. This is more like nearly a feeling. It's like when you try to know in yourself, it kind of feels like emptiness and a bit of fear, right? And then if someone helps you and then something eventually emerges somehow, then you find it really hard to trust that this is right for you. I hope I've described it well. I've definitely felt like that in the past, even to become a coach. I kind of had the idea and I worked with my coach all those years ago on it. And we were nearing the end of the process and I was still doubting. And I identified, okay, I'm one of those people that doubts what she wants. And I don't think it's actually accurate. Like we think it's going to help us and protect us. But I think this is more likely because we have had parents or carers or strong personalities when we grew up who made choices for us or at least influence our decisions often. And that's across career, but it could also be other parts of our life. And so that, they were well-meaning and they wanted the best for us. But what happened is that we have gradually let go of our own muscle of decision-making, of trusting ourselves, to the point that we now really don't feel connected with it and we don't feel able to. And that is no fun when you're an adult in your 30s or 40s. But the good news is it can be reversed. Another reason why making career decisions feels difficult is that we are fearing failure. And aren't we all fearing failure? I think, again, it's human, like that fear of change that I talked about. But in particular, I want to talk to those of you who have that fear because your sense of self-worth is linked to your work. And I was there too years ago. And I've done a lot of work to unpack that and to separate the two. But it runs deep in a lot of families, a lot of culture, and it can be with you too. Like that sentiment, that knowing, if you like, that impression that we need work to succeed in order for us to feel okay and to feel good about ourselves. It's like we have a fear hanging over our head all the time, some sort of a pressure, a kind of do or die, It's like it's not an option. We cannot risk having our work situation not going well and us being in a difficult situation and failing or having performance issues or not having the money, whatever it is. Like we know ahead of time, like we have to avoid this at all cost. And what happens is this gets us quite paralyzed because we feel there is a lot at stake. I mean, when you are at stake, your own sense of worthiness and existence and even safety nearly to be here is linked to an outcome at work. No wonder the decision feels hard. So that fear of failing can be literally quite crippling. And it is there most of the time. The question is to what extent for you. And the next one is similar. It's like the brother of it. It's the fear of uncertainty. And that uncertainty generates a lot of anxiety. And when we're in anxiety mode, we cannot make decisions. We certainly don't want to make them. Again, here, many of us find it hard to make decisions when the outcome is uncertain. But that's life, unfortunately. And that happens with work. Like, you can interview, you can do everything that you want, but you can't have all the guarantees in the world. And people will change. You can interview and really like the manager, and then 6 months down the track, things will change. Like, I'm sure most of you are nodding right now. That has happened to you. So unfortunately, that is part of life, that uncertainty. So here it's about assessing the risk, yes, but not being paralyzed by anxiety and all the things that could happen. And also what I call future tripping is worrying about things that could eventually happen. We don't know if they will, but we choose to worry about them. And that again will paralyze us in our decision making. And in particular, if you are a Scorpio, rising, or sun or moon, you like to control. I'm a rising Scorpio. I found this extremely difficult still in my life to release the fear of uncertainty and to make peace with it. Like, I don't know you, but I think I grew up thinking, I'm going to nip this in the bud. I'm going to be certain about my life. I'm going to control it. And guess what? It doesn't work. It took me all those years to unlearn that and to now learn to go with the flow, to do my best guess, to do my best thinking, and also listen to my intuition. And then off I go and I see what happens. And it's a way easier way to make decisions in general and also in your career. Now, another reason why you might find career decisions difficult, and I just touched on that a minute ago, is that simply this can be linked to your makeup, to your personality, to who you fundamentally are. And that's why you might see some people for whom it's easy to make career decisions. They seem to just be like flying through it. And some of us find it particularly harder. And why? But this is because when we're born, we all have a different mental, emotional, spiritual kit that is in our birth chart. And that plays in favor of decision, especially career, or not. So I'm going to give you some pointers here. Those of you that are not that familiar with astrology, don't freak out. Just let it go. But if you know your birth chart, if you know a little bit, you can look it up yourself. In your birth chart, the career space is in your 10th house, which is at the top of the chart. So look into what energy is in there. In particular, if you have Pisces energy in your 10th house, or if you have Neptune, the planet, in the 10th house, or aspecting an important planet in the 10th house, I hope I haven't lost you yet, that means you are likely to be prone to confusion when it comes to your career. That is really part of Piscean/Neptune energy. Also, if you have Saturn in your career space, which is my case, you can have fears and anxiety in particular linked to your career. And that has definitely played out for me in the past. So unless you know those things and you work through them, they're part of your makeup. Or if you have your sun sign, moon sign, or rising sign inside your 10th house, that means your career is super important to you, in particular with your sun. It's a major part of your identity. If it's your moon, it's a major component of your emotional safety. If it's your rising, it's how you show up in the world. So can you imagine? Of course, for you, career topics are going to be particularly sensitive, challenging, and very important. So that's very different from someone that has those planets in their house of home and family, for instance. For you, it's a bigger deal. So it's worth knowing. And also, if you're someone that has the tendency to have anxious thoughts, and some of us have got more of that tendency than others. And I'm going to quote a few signs here. Gemini, Libra, definitely air signs. Virgo and Cancer in particular have got that tendency to worry, to think in some of those signs, overanalyze, and we can get stuck just because, it's not we're doing it wrong. It's just how our mind works. It's just how we are. So really important to understand yourself, and I'll talk more about that afterwards. But that can be why. So don't feel like you're stupid. Don't feel like you're lazy. Don't feel like you are the biggest procrastinator, because that doesn't help to beat yourself up. There may be a very valid reason in terms of who you are as to why you find it difficult to make decisions and go forward in your career. I've got 2 more reasons. So see, like all up, I have 8. That is a lot. That shows there might be multiple things going on, and it's not one size fits all, and it's definitely not wrong if you're finding it difficult to know what to do in your career. But the last 2 are, you may have had a past experience of change that was negative. Things didn't go well. You tried to change, and for whatever reason, things haven't worked out the way you had hoped or expected, or maybe they've been really bad for you. So that has created a set of beliefs that then hamper your decision process now. And to be honest, that can even be a subconscious set of belief right now. You might think, oh no, this was ages ago, I've dealt with it, like I'm fine. Like consciously, you don't think that you still feel the way that you did, but your mind and your body keeps the score of those things. So what I'm going to say is those beliefs were valid at the time, but the issue is they're probably not valid anymore because you're not the same person. You've got more experience. The world has changed. Like everything has changed. In the same phase of your life, you may have different values. Your skills have changed. Like, the thing is, we tend to think, oh, well, because this happened before, it's going to repeat itself. But trust me, we are not the same person. So that can be a tricky one, because if you haven't done the work to heal from what happened, then it's just meant to happen now. And you got to hit it now in order to move forward. So sometimes not being able to make decisions is a very good indicator that there is something to resolve still there, like a bit of a thorn that's been stuck for some time, and then it's time to address it and remove it so that there can be new flow and new energy in your career. So if that's you, you will know, you'll be like, okay, because every time you think of past career situations, you have an emotionally charged reaction. You feel something, it just doesn't feel pleasant. And again, there's a lot of fears, that come from that. And that's okay, because maybe no one told you at the time how to deal with them. And that's why when, for instance, I coach people that have been made redundant, I spend a fair bit of time at the beginning of the process to talk about how they're really feeling. And we go deep into where they're at, what are their thoughts, what are their feelings, how is that impacting their life. Because if we do the work then, it's not going to be a blocker for them later down the track, because then it just goes into your subconscious and then it just stays there and then it stays strong there, right? So it's tricky. It's a little bit like fine little surgery process, but it's work to do on yourself to free yourself up, because then you will open yourself up to new things, to new opportunities, and you will write a different chapter in your story. But first you have to let go of the old one. And the final reason, it's not the final, there will be many more, but I have to stop here. These are the main ones, is that we link our decision about our career to other people. So I'm not saying we're wrong in doing that, but we might be linking financial responsibilities within our household with those decisions. We might be putting other people first, linking, in particular, I hear women linking their kids, being at school and what the kids need. This is valid, right? Those people have needs, and I will never deny that we all have financial needs and we need to have financial responsibility. Yes. But what I'm saying a lot of the time is that those things can be a very smart trick of our survival brain or our inner critic to avoid having to focus on ourselves and actually decide. And therefore, because we hang on to this need, other things going on outside of us, and they're true, they are there. But the problem is it can tend to get us off the hook of answering about our own needs first. Okay? So these are all the potential reasons, and I hope you have felt seen in some of them. I see them as a combination in all my clients. I've been doing this for 8 years. So I've got a pretty good handle. I'm pretty sure I have covered at least one point that resonated with you if you're having those career decision issues. Now we're going to talk about what can you do next from there. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do, if that's where you're at and you're like, okay, that sounds like me, is to know and accept that it's not easy. And to sit with that and not fight that and not judge yourself because you're not making progress or you're not making progress fast enough. And just be like, yeah, it is hard. And the end is important. So I want you to sit with it, acknowledge it, and still make progress towards it. Gradually but surely. And that takes time. Don't put yourself the pressure, but at the same time, you can't give yourself all the time in the world either. So my recommendation is you set a date that feels right for you, that's realistic, and a date for you to make the decision. Not a date for you to act on it and to have things in place or to have worked out exactly how, but the date to make a decision. And it's like you commit to it in your mind. You might enlist the support of an accountability partner for that, but you decide, like we are mid-Feb as I'm recording this, mid to late Feb, maybe you tell yourself by the 1st of April, I have made my decision, which would be a really good time because it's the new astrological year, okay? With Aries season, but up to you, whatever you've got on, what feels right. But you decide and you move forward. And one thing that might help you as well here is to look at the cost of not deciding. What is it costing you each week in terms of stress, in terms of confusion, in terms of dissatisfaction, demotivation, and like all the impact the current situation you're in is costing you and those that are around you. Life is too short. So I hope that will motivate you to be like, okay, this is hard, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it by that date. Secondly, a very practical tool for you here is to do what I call scenario mapping. I want you to look and write down all the potential scenarios, possible scenarios for you. And I want you to look at every option, and there are more than you would initially think. So be very creative in a way. Don't worry about how or why and does this work, but start listing all the ways you could change your career, what you could be doing. All the options, put it on paper because it's way easier than when it's in your head. And look at all the things you could be doing. And after you've done that, I recommend you highlight in a red color those scenarios that are the worst. There will be at least one, but there might be 2 or 3. So when you highlight those, that means those are really the ones not to go for. But everything else is pretty valid and worth a shot. Okay, so you want to identify the worst one and remove them. That will make your decision easier because you have looked at the worst possible one, because you've looked at all the scenarios. So you realize that the other ones are actually not that bad. So it's a really good way to frame in your mind your decision and make it easier. And so I have a couple more tools for you. The next one is quite big and important. It's to get stronger within yourself. So that's in answer to what I covered about the lack of self-trust, the fact that you were linking your decision to other people. So what I recommend you do is you look at your career decision in your own space and time, a little bit like in your own bubble. And very important, without outside influences, or may I say, naysayers or well-meaners, how I call them, right? I always tell my career coaching clients, especially those that are looking at making a decent change, and in particular where they don't know or they're still working it out, isolate yourself from external input because you don't need that. At that stage, you need the answers to come from you. So you got to bubble up, and you don't want other people, as well-meaning as they are, to be poking in your ear what you should be doing. That doesn't help. And my second point here under that category of getting stronger within yourself is to build or rebuild your self-trust muscle. And I'm not saying that just for career. It will help you in your entire life. And you will see it showing up in other parts of your life, guaranteed. So ask yourself, what do I like? What's me? Where do I feel the most alive? What are the professional activities that I enjoy the most? What were the highlights in my career? Like, what did I like the most? What did light me up? Just connect back to you, because no one knows yourself better than you. Unfortunately, even though some people act like they know better, especially our dear parents, it's been a long time. You're no longer a child. You are older. You are your own person. And again, a birth chart reading helps you know yourself on such a deeper level, right? That it just gives you that self-leadership, that I've got this, I've got myself here, because I am me and no one else is really going to be exactly like me. So train that muscle of knowing yourself, asking yourself those questions, and then really following that and giving yourself what it is that you need. It's kind of being your own best friend here. So start building more of that relationship with yourself and start trusting the decisions that you are making. And you can train yourself with a non-career decision. It's actually a good way to start, with what you're going to be doing on the weekend. Start with that. Where you're going to be eating, who you feel like seeing right now, right? All those things. Because trust me, regaining control of that trust for yourself is paramount. You cannot go through life without it. And as part of this getting stronger within yourself, go back to your work history. Especially here, I'm talking if you're at least in your late 20s, you have already some career history. So look at what worked and what didn't. All the things that you've learned about yourself, because this is data. These are facts. This has happened. And sometimes we just forget, we could just keep moving forward. But this is useful information to help inform your future career direction. In particular, look at what environments work for you, what culture, what type of role, what type of location, all those things, what type of management works for you and what doesn't. All those things, they're a little bit like your career bio. They're like your little career toolkit, what you have learned about yourself through your experiences, including those that didn't work. This is like your net gain. This is part of your assets. So use them when you're making those decisions, because that's tried and tested, because it happened. So don't overlook that source of information. Oh, and one more actually under get stronger within yourself is to untangle your needs from other people's needs, like I mentioned. So you need to put your needs first. That's a lot of needs. But that's really important because that's how you're going to find the answers. So you need to remove the rest and kind of isolate yourself, what I talked about, that bubble, and find the answers. And then I guarantee you will do that. You're not going to be a selfish person. I don't think you can. But you add that afterwards. and you're like, okay, this is what I would really like to do. This is me. Okay, how does that work with what I've got on? How can this work in terms of the financial situation of the household? How does this work with the kids? Like, this becomes, how do I modulate and flex and put some colors, It's the packaging. But what is inside? Only you can answer that. And when you remove that link to other people, okay? Otherwise, you won't be authentic to yourself. So practice that. First me, then I'll put this into the context of all those other people and things that matter to me, and I'll work it out. And then that is the final decision, okay? But step one is you. And I'm now getting to my final recommendation, and this is to get some help, especially if it's part of your makeup, like I was saying. So I'm going to call this out again. If you are prone to indecision, these are my lovely Libras. If you're prone to confusion, these are my Pisces people. If you're prone to perfectionism, hello Virgos. Or if you're prone to control because you've got some Scorpio energy in your chart. Or if you have fear of change and risk because you are Taurus, these are all really strong energies that make it challenging for you. And so get some support. Get the best team for you and get some outside help, obviously qualified help. And so get some support. And that can come through 2 different pathways that I would recommend. The first one is career coaching. Obviously, I believe in it. I've seen it work. I have tons of testimonials on my website that you can go and check out at careercatchup.com. Career coaching is the tool that often we need in those situations, to be honest. And how do you know a good one? Well, I hope with this podcast that I've helped you build a connection with me and that you trust my expertise and my style, and we can do a discovery call just to chat about it, and then the decision is yours, okay? And I'll also link in the show note, I've done an episode on how to get the right career advice because there are lots of coaches out there. So I actually made an episode just to guide you on how to work that out and how do you know who and what is right for you. So if that's you and you're a bit someone that second guesses or doubts yourself, go and listen to that podcast alone. That will help make the decision easier. But also then go and do a discovery call with myself or other career coaches, and that will help you make the decision easier. And then you will say, because you have someone with a process, with a structured approach, with methods, with tools that has dealt with many people like you and taken them to the other side. That's what career coaching does. So you'll be in good hands with a good coach. And secondly, is to rely on astrology and to look at either your full birth chart. I mean, that is the best for your whole personality and it will give you lifetime value. But if right now you just want to focus on career, you can do a career astro reading for half an hour, or you can do my new astro career path, which combines career coaching and the astrology side of your career. So I hope that everything I have spoken about today has now already delivered some value and help you gain some kind of clarity as to what is going on. I also hope that you feel a lot more normal and you're not judging yourself and you're like, okay, yes, this is why I'm finding it difficult. Absolutely. And you're not stuck. That's what I want you to know. And there's nothing wrong with you. You may need outside help, you need some pointers, but you also have some of the answers yourself. So try as much as you can to work it out yourself, but then when you're not making progress or when you're feeling hampered or when the fears is just keeping you hiding under the doona, be a grown-up, be brave and book yourself a discovery call, reach out to someone, do something about it, because I really want you to get started, because that's the hardest. After that, you realize, oh yeah, this is right. This is what works for me. And if it doesn't, you can stop. Like, you know what I mean? You will be guided anyway. Look at the signs, look at what you're noticing. If other people are talking to you about taking a coach, that can be a sign that it is happening or supposed to happen for you. Okay? So take that all in, take it away, use some of the advice and the tools that I have given you, and don't judge yourself. Okay, my friend? You've got this. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to share it with somebody at work, with a friend, with a sister, with anyone who needs career help. Maybe they've been a bit lost, or maybe they've been talking to you about their career for quite some time and you're not a qualified career coach. Send them the help. They will be very grateful, and so will I. All right, my friends, I wish you all a beautiful rest of the week and rest of the month of February. And I'll be back in your ears very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.